It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Well, another big night last night on Parental Guidance, Season 2, Episode 5. Kylie, we were introduced to four. I was getting a little bit carried away.
It is Episode 5.
There is no intruder. It's Episode 5. Four new parenting styles sat on the couch and showed us their stuff.
You know, the conversation we had last night on the couch was, do you know, in about 4 or 5 years, I could audition for this?
Yes.
Actually, maybe Chanel should do it.
Yeah, like our kids are literally saying, can I go on the show? One of the kids said, Dad, if I went on the show, would that be okay? Would you be okay if I was on the show with you? I'm like, oh gosh, can we if the show's still on in 10 years, let's have that conversation then.
But anyway, we digress. We were introduced to the slow parents, Chris and Philippa.
Slow parenting for us is just being really intentional about getting rid of the craziness in our schedule.
What should we make?
Muddy pies.
Some muddy pies. Okay. I think one of the best parts is allowing them to enjoy their childhood and learn and play rather than instructing them constantly from school and then after school activities.
There's the American parents, Kim and Nick.
With American parenting, we tend to set the bar high.
You can still do it.
Push, and then wait for the child to meet the expectation and then set it higher and higher.
Well done.
Woo! Good job.
Then we have the road school parents, Amy and John.
As road school parents, we live in our caravan and travel full time and we homeschool. What do we do up here?
That's the Cape York where we went four-wheel driving.
Before road schooling our kids, we were so caught up in the rat race, and being able to take a backward step because there's so much more time to be able to spend with the kids. That's way better.
Yeah.
And lastly, the unstructured parents, Melody and Michael.
The life of a musician is unstructured. Every day is completely different. So we're firm believers in child-led parenting.
Are you going to sing with me, boo-boo?
We kind of let the kids steer the ship when we can. We like to give our children autonomy over their own decisions.
Can we do the thing where it's like everyone else is singing different parts?
I liked that. That was really cool in the background.
I loved so much what happened in this episode, but before we talk about it, and there are just two things that I want to talk about, as much as we could dive into heaps of other stuff. I want to talk about the putting the swing set together, and I want to talk about the delivery driver knocking on the door and saying, hey, can I come in and put this heavy item on the kitchen bench? But before we do any of that, there's something that Tensi said right towards the end of the episode. Tensi, one of the Outback parents, said this great thing, and I just want to put a great big neon sign flashing everywhere every time we talk about this show and we talk about parenting generally.
There are no bad parents here. Everyone just does it differently. They all want the same outcome.
I absolutely loved what she said and the acknowledgement that every person in that room is doing the best job that they can.
Yeah.
And the conversation I'm having with my friends is just, I'm watching these parents and as things unfold, literally feel like I'm being taken back in time to a moment where I fell apart or I got it wrong or in some cases got it right. And I'm right there with them. I know what it feels like to be in that position.
Yeah.
The only difference is some of us don't actually even think that there's anything wrong with those decisions. Some of us are quite comfortable being there, and yet with all of the exploration that you and I have done, have recognized that there are definitely better ways to do things from time to time. And being in that position now and going, oh, I really stuffed that up. maybe I can try again. Because it's not about beating yourself up. The more we beat ourselves up, the worse we feel about ourselves, and then we actually don't bring our best to the table at all. But it's acknowledging that, oh, there is definitely a better way we could do this.
And the great thing about the show is it teaches
I'm going to have lots of opportunities to practice it.
The great thing about life is you get the opportunities. But the show gives us, it's this mirror. It says, here's what people struggle with. So let's talk about one of those struggles. I think that there was so much to talk about with here's a swing set. You've got 2 hours to put it together. As a family, away you go.
Oh my God.
What?
That needs to come to this side.
been there, done that.
All right, well, let's do it. Do you want a hand or do you want to do it on your own?
I just want to cry.
Can I just say, last season, it was a beach hut.
Yes.
This is a big deal.
Yes.
Building a swing set with all those nuts and bolts and what do you call those things? Little...
Allen keys?
No.
You're holding up your hand like I know what...
Those little round discs, what do you call them?
Washers?
Washers. Yes. There's so many bits and pieces, and then you've got little hands who want to help.
Hearing you even say this, you don't even know how to describe what a washer is, and I'm thinking, how would we do this? I was so glad. I can't.
You would have failed miserably.
I cannot think of a worse.
You can't deal with pictures. You can't. You just don't do it.
I hate those instruction manuals, and I hate building things. I do actually just pay the tradesperson to come over and build them for us when we've done it in the past, like one of those spring-free trampolines.
Oh, I would never attempt a spring-free.
I just paid the guy. I'm like, I'm not even going to try. just you fix it. Which makes me feel like a complete failure while we're talking, which means that we can say whatever we want about everyone else because we would have failed far worse.
Oh, 100%.
The first one that I want to talk about, though, is the way Kim and Nick, our American parents, approached this.
Here, hold this for Dad, Pia.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Now, we've got to be careful undoing this.
I know.
Yeah, okay, I'll just stay out of the way.
Two of these. We got to get this done, and we got to do it right. You know, we got to do it well, and we got to finish it.
Kylie, I'm going to dive in here before you say anything because I can see you reaching for words, but you're not quite sure what to say. I chafed at watching Kim and Nick do this. Now, again, there are no bad parents on this show. Great family. And they also acknowledged in the room, getting the goal matters more than our child's participation. We had to build this and we had to build it right and we had to get it done on time.
That's the American way, though, right?
That's the American way.
There's always a goal, and it's about reaching that goal no matter what. But in their defense, I am that mum in the kitchen. Just let me do what I've got to do because I've got to get to the other end.
You
or
are
the laundry or whatever it is.
Or the Christmas tree. You are that mum with the Christmas tree.
Yeah, so this is not about Kim and Nick. This is actually just about an acknowledgement. When we're in those situations, is the goal more important than the actual process and the opportunity we have to connect with our kids?
And watching it said to me, this is what control does.
Yeah.
As you watch Pia shrink back when mum says, no, I just need to do this. And being given these unimportant tasks.
I think that we could have given Pia more responsibility, but we were on a time crunch. I'll do this part because it's harder.
Oh, yeah.
And then I need the bolt. Can someone thread it on?
Yeah, I'll do it. Here, you hold this.
It does something to the psyche of the child. And the great thing about the show is that we get to have that mirror held up, and Kim and Nick could see that. But Kim also said, but the goal has to be met. I get it. I can see it. But I still have to control the outcome. I have to win.
But the contrast.
I was going to say, let's compare that to Philippa and Chris, our slow parents.
We realised pretty quickly we're outnumbered in terms of delegating tasks because they're quite tricky. So Chris worked with Peyton.
Yeah, which way do you twist it on?
Lefty loosey, righty tighty.
And I worked with Briar. Tighten that one up.
Yeah, we got one side.
It was always going to be hard to keep Avery engaged because she's only 4 and it's quite tricky tasks that are outside of her development level. Do you want to play in the cardboard box, babe?
Yeah.
Well, I think you'd put Melody and Michael into the same boat there.
Here's what happened with them.
I think we're really good at enjoying the process of things.
I'm scared you might drill my leg or something.
No, the drill's nowhere near your leg, babes.
All right.
I would much rather that than the goal be met at the end.
And so we've got this amazingly, like on the continuum, you've got these families at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. There is no goal here at all except for let's just see where this goes.
Connection. And this is my challenge at a personal level. I'm not talking about the science here. I'm just talking about it at a personal level. While I chafe at the American way, Kim and Nick and their American style, I also chafe at the slow approach and the unstructured approach because, come on, we actually do have to get this thing done. And they did. I mean, they worked through it.
But in real life, okay, let's just put this into real context.
Yeah.
If we brought home a swing set,
then
we're not setting a timer for 2 hours.
No.
It could take us all day. And if your approach is slow...
But if
and
it took me all day, I would throw tools. I would lose them. I'd be like... What a waste of a day.
But that's because you are goal oriented. That's the difference.
No, it's
right?
because I'm incompetent when it comes to building things. It would be the incompetence.
It's both though.
Mm.
For these other two families, especially the slow parents, I think Chris and Philippa really nailed this whole we'll just take it as it comes. There was no anxiety at all at any stage of the game. It just didn't happen. It just didn't finish in the time frame. But I would suggest if they were given time to kind of let this go, it would have continued for hours. They would have got it done, and they actually would have celebrated the fact that they had achieved it.
And they would have enjoyed the slowness of it.
That's right. It's all about the process for them as opposed to the end result.
I'm not a slow person.
You are not.
I'm not at all. And yet, oh gosh, even hearing you talk about it makes me wish that I could be. But I want to do stuff. I want to achieve stuff, and I want to get it all done today.
Melody and Michael's son, Miller,
Yes.
he said such a gorgeous one-liner.
At this point, it doesn't really matter if we get the swing or not because we're having fun.
I love that. I love that.
And I think it really kind of just highlighted how they live life. It really is about that connection and just having fun together and being able to do so regardless of the outcome.
So let's talk about Amy and John, the road school parents. There was some heat. There was some heat coming off Mum, Amy, when things weren't going quite right.
Yeah, that's where that goes. That's why I left it there, mate. I thought you were doing this.
I am. I've got all the pieces.
I need you to stop being silly.
I've got all the pieces.
I think because we're very alike, he challenged me a lot.
Hang on.
No, I'm not
Don't you
listening
want
to
me
you
to
right now
listen?
because you're not listening to me. Get the book.
No.
Just sit down.
Come on, have a work it out, you two.
You want to give them a sense of responsibility so they feel like they've accomplished something, but in the exact same breath, you just want to punch them in the face.
You can't say that.
I did.
What I actually really admire about this was Amy absolutely owned this in the
She did.
studio.
Yeah, I yell a bit.
Absolutely owned it. And so often as parents, we kind of want to paint a really good picture of how things are. But the reality is we're not like that all the time.
Yeah.
And there was an acknowledgement that for her, there is one particular child that kind of just really grates her from time to time because she recognised they are so similar.
Do you know how they've got 3 kids? There's only one particular child. We have 6 kids. That's all I'm saying. But the critical thing about what Amy and John did here is not only did they own it, but there was repair. And that's the critical thing, because in every relationship, we're going to mess up. We're going to make a big boo-boo all over the place consistently, and they repaired it. And that is the key.
And you can also recognise that this wasn't just TV repair, if that makes sense. It wasn't just because they were on camera. There was a definite recognition that this is something that is done regularly in the home because of the way their son then responded when they realised that there'd been a mishap made in the construction of their swing set.
So that was the road school parents and the way they put together their swing set. Kind of hard to work out who we can learn the most from in that challenge, but I think that there's stuff to pull out of every one of those challenges. And that's what I love about this one. And like I said, it would have been an epic fail if we had done it.
Before we go on to the next challenge, I just have to bring up the slow parents.
Yes.
When we got to know them a little bit better, there was an acknowledgement that they haven't had a TV for 3 years.
Yes. Yeah, we went without TV for at least that. When we lived in Wollongong, remember we had no TV and it was bliss. I don't know how relevant that is once you've got teens and there are screens everywhere, regardless of a TV or not.
Well, and I think that's where we got to. As our kids got older and screens became prolific.
Is that the word we're looking for? Abundant, everywhere, ubiquitous. There were lots of them.
That not having a TV actually didn't make much of a difference to the outcome.
Yes.
But I love their philosophy that as the children got used to it, I mean, in the beginning, it's really hard and we experienced that. Lots of tantrums, lots of, kind of tears. But over time, the kids actually recognize it's no longer an option. And the things that they end up doing as a result it's inspiring.
We need to talk about the second big challenge for episode 5 of Parental Guidance, season 2. A delivery driver knocks on the door and says, I've got a package for your parents. The kids say, can you leave it there? And the delivery driver says, actually, it's really heavy. and it's raining outside. I probably need to come in and put it on the kitchen bench. What do the kids do?
This is one of those heart in your mouth moments, I think.
Oh.
As a parent watching this, I was thinking, I wonder, have we had enough conversations with our kids about this? Like, this physically made me feel sick.
Yeah, so we've got the American parents, Kim and Nick, and they've got this gorgeous kid, Pia, who reluctantly opens the door. And the conversation that happens after that is powerful.
Have you had the conversation with her what to do if someone
20
comes
or
to
30
the door?
times.
Yes.
What do you tell her to
You
do?
never open the door to a stranger.
We've had this discussion with her.
Thank God that was in a safe environment again.
Yeah, in a real life situation, you're gone already. That guy has snatched you, you know, whatever it is.
Kylie,
She knew she'd done
Kim said, what do we do? What are we supposed to say? And there is no easy answer here. And I think that they have been doing the right thing, but it just hasn't gotten through.
I think the other challenge you have, and you recognise it and see it with kids that have a level of confidence in their ability to have adult conversations or be in a space with adults and have confidence. Pia is a really confident kid.
Yeah.
And so she sees in that moment that she is capable.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, she feels confident,
she
opens the door, knows how to talk to an adult.
That's exactly right. Whereas other children who do not have the same level of confidence, they're not about to do it because that they don't know how to work or navigate this space. I remember when our kids were younger and I was blown away at their confidence in the water. Now, they hadn't had many lessons, and I remember one of the teachers, I was like feeling so proud of myself because I've got this kid who just loves the water and she's really confident. And I remember her swimming teacher telling me, the confident kids are the ones you need to be worried about the most. And I couldn't believe what she was saying at the time. But over the years, as I've watched our children in the water, I have recognised and seen how much more dangerous the situation is because they don't see the danger in the situation.
On the other hand, we've got some pretty confident kids who are being road school parented, and here's what happened with them.
I've got a parcel to deliver for you. It's a bit fragile. Would you be kind enough to let me in and place it somewhere?
No, we'll do it.
Oh, I don't think you can do this. My boss finds out that I actually made you do this. I'll get fired on the spot.
Well, your boss would be happy if you place it on the floor.
Hey! I got to keep it inside, and I got to keep it somewhere safe.
I'll ring Dad and see what packages it in.
Really?
Good boy.
That's okay, I get it.
Yeah. See you, mate.
See you.
Can't really fit much in that Suzuki Bell, though, if you're a delivery driver.
Exactly. Did he understand no? He really didn't want to get fired for his show, did he?
What I loved about these guys
Nailed
is they nailed it, but there was an awareness, but there was no fear. These kids weren't scared. They knew how to handle themselves. They knew that this guy did not make sense, and they did everything they could to keep themselves safe without the fear.
There's also strength in numbers, which was probably to their advantage as well, which I loved. We do need to talk just briefly about the slow parents, Chris and Philippa. Consistent with their style, although very frustrating from a TV point of view, they left the house, said, no, we just don't leave our kids, and walked back in. So we never actually got to see the challenge happen there.
I actually want to really praise them for that.
Yeah, right.
I think back on times where I have made decisions about my parenting based on what other people have told me is the in thing at the time. Control crying is the one that jumps out at me.
Right.
And it felt completely wrong to me. But I went along with it because this was the only option that we had available to us. This is what everyone was telling us was going to be the magic pill to make everything right. And for them to be in a position where they recognized and knew this was part of the show, and yet it still did not sit with their principles and they were willing to stand for that, I actually think that's amazing.
Fair enough. It does make it hard to make a TV show when people don't do the challenges, but I think that's a really important point, and it creates this is what it's about. It's creating this continued conversation. Can we please talk, though, about Miller and the unstructured parents and the way that Miller responded to this challenge? First of all, can this kid play the guitar or what?
I loved that not only did he have a clear picture of what he was going to do when Mum and Dad left the house, but they knew exactly what he was going to get up to too.
Miller, you got the house to yourself.
You know what I'm going to do, right?
Play guitar and eat junk food.
And how he just loved being in this space where he could crank up the music, play his guitar at the top of, the volume and just have a ball. They're just so carefree.
And of course, he did open the door, but then he shut it and went back in and just started playing the guitar again. It was fantastic. Have the conversation with your kids. It's so important that they understand no matter what, you just don't let people in. You just don't let people in unless there's a parent in the house. So important. Kylie, I can't wait for episode number 6. It's happening tonight at 7:30 on 9. If you haven't seen what's happened so far, sorry for all the spoilers, but you can catch up on the 9 Now app. I think that's it. Thank you so much to Justin Roulon, JR, our producer, for making the podcast sound red hot during Parental Guidance Season 2, and for Craig Bruce, our executive producer. The Happy Families podcast back tomorrow for a recap of tonight's episode, wherever you download your podcasts.